Okay, here we go again. Back to the streaming. We are back in the room. Time to work a little bit. Time to do some commentary. And I have a very special guest with me. A super bowler from my generation. Well, he's actually a little bit younger than I am. He was a super bowler. Now he's a super coach. Ladies and gentlemen, we are with Robert Anderson. Hello, Robert. Nice to see you here.
Thank you for that very nice introduction.
My pleasure. But I haven't said any lie. You were a super bowler, now you're a super coach. You're being successful in your career both ways. And it's a pleasure for us to have you here. You're probably going to see things that most of us cannot see and going to help us to understand a little bit more what goes on the lanes and what you see happening on the lanes. And as I said, it's going to be a pleasure to be doing some comments with you, buddy.
Thank you. It'll be fun.
So we are on game 2. We had game 1 was already quite impressive. 16 bowlers out there. Only 3 of them were short to the par. And the lowest game was 180. So, I mean, the scoring is pretty high again.
For sure. And moving on to these tournaments, you can clearly see that the urethane balls dominating. And we will probably see a lot of transition going on in the second and third game. So it's nice to see if the people that shot those high numbers the first game can continue doing so.
Yeah, it's a lot of urethane ball, definitely. The shape of the pattern, I would say, it helps a little bit, since it seems to be a lot of friction far on the both sides on the outside. So of course, if it was a lot deeper shape on the pattern, it would be a little bit tougher to get the carry with the urethane ball. But the fact that they can really bowl out there and make the ball come from so far outside, that's going to make also the urethane balls shine even a little bit more than usual.
Yeah. We just came back from the European Championship for the men a week ago, and you can clearly see that even though you don't make lanes that are super suitable for the urethane, many bowlers will bowl with urethane anyway, just to get the control they need, and because many of the kids have the rev rate to score even though you don't create a lot of angle.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, if you compare to the bowlers in our generation that we bowled a little bit slower and a little bit less rev rate, I mean, for me, as soon as I grab a urethane ball, unless I can really stay close to the gutter, I know I'm going to be sparing the 10 pin all day long because I don't manage to keep enough energy on my ball down there. But these kids with such high rev rate and high speed balls, I mean, what they do with today's balls, it's unbelievable.
For sure. And I also see that some of the guys, when the lanes are fresh, they're going to have a good backhand and it's going to be fine. And we can also see that many of the two-handers has also developed to just bowl backhand.
Oh, that's one of the things we were talking early in the morning. It's fun how we tend to think about our generation. We were able to do a lot of stuff like changing the hand position, mostly manipulating a little bit what you did with the ball in terms of speed. You could go faster, you could go slower, and always trying to match whatever you had on the lanes. But back in our days, we didn't have to move that much. The lanes were not changing so drastically as the lanes are changing today with the new stuff, new material, thicker oil than we used to bowl on. The balls absorb so much more oil than they did before, but those balls who don't flare so much, in this case, like for example the Boko Hammer with such low differential, you guys can see the track is almost staying at the same spot all over the lane, and that obviously is going to push the oil down the lane, make the backhand a little bit tighter, make the backhand a little bit tougher. And unless you really have a lot of power and a lot of control, it's going to be very difficult to manage.
Yes, you can for sure say that this new generation, they are good to begin with, but what you just explained also pushed our generation out of it pretty quickly, because they make the lanes easy for themselves and pretty tricky for
and very tricky for us. Yeah, exactly. As soon as we start to get our heads a little bit drier, we no longer have enough speed to cross those heads with the same ease we used to have, and then we get probably forced to use some pearl balls that can cross that area a little bit easier and can keep a little bit of energy for back the lane. But then we get to the bottom of the lane and we find all this traffic of the urethane, and it becomes very tricky. depending on where you put in the ball on the breakpoint, it can jump or it can just skate, and so they actually make the lane a lot tougher for us.
Yeah, and usually scoring pace is a little bit too high for leaving too many 2-8 fans.
Definitely, and the other thing, it's at least for me, it's impossible even to think about it as a one-hand bowler with my thumb inside the ball. There's no way I'm going to produce any rev rate on the backup shot. So that's already one part of the lane we are never going to use, while they use it so easily and comfortable. For example, we have the kid from Norway. He's been bowling all week on the left side of the lane. He's throwing two hands, but bowling back up all the week. Then, for example, the bowler from New Zealand, he has been doing both things. Now he's hooking it normal, but I've seen him bowling backup as well during the week. So it's like they can adjust in such a bigger way than we ever did.
In Hong Kong, the previous year, it was the Youth World Championship, and the only 3 right-handed bowlers that got a medal was bowling back.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Carl Eklund from Sweden, Petit, like you talked about here.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, they make them really versatile. And Matthias Utting is going to shoot 240 now to win against Pitt. So it's another high game for him.
He makes it look so easy. I mean, he's not a tall guy. It's just a little bit, even we could say a little bit small for the average, especially for being Scandinavian. But the power he manages to produce, mostly also due to his beautiful leg work. He has a lot of speed on the legs. That's going to transfer a lot of energy to the ball. And he controls it. I mean, when you go that fast, if I try to bowl that fast with my legs, I lose all the control in the world. Yeah. These kids, they have so much power in the legs, so much control, so much balance, and they really are good on doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah. You can say also for us that needs a swing, and we can't just walk as fast as we want to. So then we get to the foul line before the swing, and you lose all the speed. So it's much trickier to do that with the thumb in the ball and having the swing. I also want to say that Lucas Veninen has been one of the most successful young European bowlers on just staying outside. He just keeps throwing it faster and faster and faster and faster as we progress.
It looks like he really doesn't care so much about transition. He's just going to move his feet further outside, increase the speed, stick into the friction, and let the others fight with the rest of the boards on the lane.
We had Robin Ilhammar and Lucas Veninen met in the top 4 in the European Master Championship this previous weeks, where they had a good fight. Robin won that time, but we know that Veninen is always very dangerous when he plays up the boards or keeping the ball in front of himself.
So we can say honestly that Lucas has not been at his best in the first couple of days, but today, I mean, he's shining. He's looking pretty good. He started with a 248 in game 1, and now he's on his way for a 279. So that's going to make 530. That's a good beginning.
And a little bit bonus on that.
Plus the bonus, so it's going to be 190 over after 2.
That's good. Now you have to. There's a few guys here that went directly from the European Championships onto a new championship, and even if you're successful on that championship, the scoring pace was really low. It was very, very difficult. So I'm guessing some of the guys that went there are a little bit drained now. So I can imagine it was a bit harder in the beginning of this championship. But clearly we can see now that it's recovered quite well.
That's actually one of the things that people don't really think about it. They don't talk about bowling as a sport, but it's actually very demanding, not only physically, but when you go to a soccer game, it lasts for a couple of hours. You go even to an NBA game, it's going to last for 3 hours. But sometimes we have events that we are bowling up to 6-7 hours. We're staying in the bowling alley all day long. Just eat a banana or a piece of chocolate in between games, and the lack of energy. I mean, you're going to carry that lack of energy for the next couple of days. So these guys like Robin and the Finnish guy, they've just been bowling in Aalborg on the highest competition, European seniors, not seniors, but adults, not juniors or not youth. and that demands a lot of brain energy, a lot of big effort, especially when you make it to the final. And the lanes were not that easy, and the pattern was not that easy. So it obviously, when you get to the next competition, even if the pattern may seem to be a little bit easier, but your brain's still kind of exhausted from all the work you had to do on the week before.
Yeah, I think we also had Urethane from Simon. He was also in the European Championship, but he still had a pretty good week so far here, winning the qualification.
He bowled unbelievable. I mean, he felt so comfortable. He had such a clear idea on what he wanted to do. He was staying just a little bit deeper than the rest of them on the arrows, but keeping the same breakpoint far outside to the right. He's doing it like, makes it very simple. You look at him and you go like, this guy can repeat, and he does it over and over and over and over and over again. He keeps going and keeps going.
I also think it's a pretty smart move because he is a thumbing bowler, so it will be hard for him to compete with the guys on rev rates and speed. So if he want to win this, I guess creating angles would be what he can do, and that's also what he's been doing. I think it's a smart move.
We were talking in the morning while we were at the girl squad. We had Paul Fleming with us, and we were actually talking about it, the ways you can attack these kind of patterns and the kind of things you want to do and the kind of things you don't want to do. For those who are watching and they don't have so much experience in high competition, or they are beginners, or they haven't been bowling for that long, we tried to explain a little bit the way we see the lanes today. We have changed a little bit compared to 25, 30 years ago when we thought about the balls in the back, which one hooks most, which one hooks less, and how we now, instead of going that way, we start to think which ball hooks the sooner, to which ball hooks the latest. So we start thinking about the energy and the angles, because 220 average is not enough anymore. And 99% of the events we bowl on, you need to bowl 250, even sometimes even higher than that. And if you're not able to carry properly, it doesn't really matter how consistent you are and how good you are in hitting the target. If you just make like double, nine spare, double, nine spare, double, nine spare, you're going to end up with a 227. So you need to know exactly why the ball is not striking, even if you hit the target over and over again. And that's the main reason why we start to think about the balls on terms on how soon or how late they hook, in order to have the right angle and make sure that we carry over and over and over again. So for you as a coach, is it something that you talk a lot with the bowlers? You just try to help them to find the easy spot on the lane, or do you also talk about a little bit about the pin fall and how the pins are falling to make sure they're on the right spot, or with the right ball on the right spot?
Yeah, to be honest, when it comes to championships, the last 5 years has been predominated by the same ball. So even when we go to the championship, we usually spend quite a lot of time to talk about different options and what if this happens and what that happens, and then we get there and no, it's the same ball.
The rack is full of purple things.
Yes, and usually what happens is that we try to be able to play as far right as possible to create as much angle as possible to the pocket in the beginning. And then it's a little bit different because back in the days when 400 RPMs used to be good, you had to be good at moving your feet left and keeping the breakpoint to the right, a little bit like we talked about Simon. Now some of the bowlers, they have so much rev rate that they don't have to do it. They can move the breakpoint inside to 8 to 9.
So they can move parallel.
They can move parallel. But with 600 RPMs, you're not going to leave too many flat hands anyway, compared to before. So it's a little bit different from bowler to bowler. But even though it's very impressive, I find that some of these young bowlers, they have a challenge right now. Like we have a lot of the best Swedish bowlers, they want to go to the PBA tour. And then you can't use it.
No, exactly.
So if you're very pot committed on only in that, then you're going to get to the tour. It's going to be quite hard. Yeah. So we're trying to give our bowlers a broader education in using different bowling balls and doing things. So we also want to be prepared for the day something happens that it's not going to be used in championship. If that happens, I don't know.
That's what one of the other things that we were commenting early in the morning. We're wondering what's going to happen if one day they suddenly decide that, okay, now this ball is not for use anymore because whatever the reason, because after a few games it becomes soft, or after a couple of years it becomes soft, or whatever the reason, or maybe because they decide that, okay, it makes a print on the lane that is forcing everybody to use the same, and that's not fair for some of the other brands or for some of the staff bowlers on other brands, whatever the reason it may be. And then we said to ourselves, what's going to happen with all this generation that only threw that ball as soon as it's not able to use? Are they going to retire? Are they going to have a hard time adjusting their game to whatever the new rules are? Because let's say, for example, it's not that maybe they're going to forbid it like they did with the extra holes, but maybe they're going to run a new rule like they did on the PBA. That's fine, you can still use urethane, but now it has to become 78 in hardness. So that means purple hammer is gone. And of course, I see a lot of people using purple hammer that they also use that black hammer, which is 78. But definitely, that black hammer has nothing to do compared to the purple hammer. I mean, purple hammer is just purple hammer. So we're wondering, as soon as they have to go to a harder ball, it doesn't really matter how much grit they give to that ball, because it's not really going to perform the way the other one has done.
They can certainly perform similar on fresh, when you can go a little bit straighter. But it looks like it's a little bit harder to cover a lot of boards with it.
As soon as the traffic hits a little bit at the bottom of the lane and the backhand reaction becomes a little bit weaker, then a 78 hardness ball becomes a little tougher. I mean, we could see it also, for example, Jesper, when he bowls on the tour, is destroying everyone with that IQ 78. But yesterday when he was here, he was doing some comments with us, and he explained, I actually have to use a couple of them just in one game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, as soon as it sucks a little bit of oil and that surface kind of melts down a little bit, it's game over. Unless I just pop up a second one that has a fresh surface on it. So we may get to a point that if they go for 78 rule in the amateur bowling, maybe some of these guys are going to have to go with 12 exactly same balls so they can give a lot of surface just to bowl 6 games. Half a game, half a game, half a game, half a game, keep changing, keep changing, keep changing.
But on the other hand, if you go to a championship, you don't have that. It's just 6 balls.
6 at the moment, yeah, so they changed it. You can see why I'm not bowling that much anymore.
Yeah, it's 6. But yeah, and we'll see. I think it's hard to make everyone happy. See, for example, we've done some experiments in Sweden. I had a tournament where you just stayed on the same lane, 10 games.
I love that one. That one, I must say, that's my favorite format by far, especially for the young bowlers.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna force them. Okay, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do with your lane. That's one of the biggest mistakes the amateur bowlers do. They always blame it on the guy of the machine. Oh, the oil pattern is this, the oil pattern is that. But actually, the oil pattern is only one frame. After the first frame, it's evolving, and every single shot you're gonna do on that lane is gonna make the pattern different. So the fact that you have this kind of a band where, especially the young bowlers, I think they bowl 8 games, right?
We bowl 10.
10, even better. So you can do one way or the other. You can go like, let's see how many pins I can get from the start, and I'm going to use my purple hammer. I'm going to hit it there, there, there. Maybe you make 750 on the first 3 games. But then 4, 5, 6, it starts becoming tricky and tricky and tricky because you simply screwed up a little bit the lane, or you made the lane tougher. On the other hand, if you are a smart bowler and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to be bowling on my own on this lane, even the pattern may be flat, I'm going to grab a reactive resin bowl, a soft one, I'm going to make it even more dull, I'm going to spend all my warm-up creating some area on my outside, so as soon as the game goes on, I'm simply going to keep moving in, and I'm going to keep generating more and more and more area. So by the end of those 10 games, you have such a big room that if you have been smart enough, you become in the top. So you may sacrifice the first 2 or 3 games in order to succeed at the very end.
Exactly, and that was what everyone who had turned 30 did, and they were also the successful ones in the tournament. So it was very clear. I got it also from. There's been a lot of talk about transitioning and how to follow this guy or that guy. He did this to my lane, and I had this feel like maybe we should start to see if you can follow your own transition before we start talking about following other people's transition.
So prove me that you know what you're doing with your own game and with your own lane. And then when you prove that, I may listen to you when you tell me you followed the wrong guy.
Exactly.
That's a very smart thing. I mean, that's why, like I said, it's not only one of the best bowlers late, but also a very smart coach. Somebody, if you have the chance to talk to on Facebook or you meet on some bowling alley, it's one of those persons you want to ask things because he knows a lot. He explains it in a way it's very easy for you to understand. And as I said, it's a pleasure to have you here, buddy. It's always fun.
Thank you.
And back to scoring, we have a lot of strikes again going on.
See our guy Robin is doing quite okay, but he's now getting some pushback from Hassan. Right?
They're actually pretty tight at the moment.
They're very tight, and I can see the demand for making it to top 8 now is that you have to have 500 for 2 to be in the top half of the field, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah. Looks like EJ Tackett is in the house or what? EJ Tackett, what about that? That's another guy who never uses the purple hammer. Obviously, he bowls full motif. He doesn't bowl 2 hands, he bowls 1 hand. So for all those cheat chats that, you know, is a lot of talking on the social media. Oh, the 2-hander should be forbidden, 2-hander is no real bowling. Oh, the purple hammer this, the purple hammer that. But at the end, if you're good enough, you can succeed. You don't have to bowl 2 hands, you don't have to use a purple hammer. You just have to be the number one. You have to practice, you have to learn, you have to listen to those that know some about the game and keep improving. I mean, it's an eternal evolution. From the first day you start bowling until the very last day you bowl, there's room for improvement, there's room for learning.
For sure. And you got other people which impressed me a lot on the PBA. Obviously, and Jason and all of those other guys, but a player like Bill O'Neill, who fairly maybe he had a little bit more hand than we had, but to be this strong,
consistent,
still,
and so consistent. He's over there no matter what the pattern is. He's always up there. He's always fighting, always making shows.
And fun part also is that he's been one actually bowling in the national team. As I mean, you represent your country and I represent mine, and I've always been more interested in national team stuff than I've been on the PBA. But it's also very impressive to see that some of the PBA guys that also play for the national team. So you know, because when we go to the PBA, we have to abide to their rules, and it's very difficult to beat them on their own game. But then they would have to come back here, and they would have to bowl us with all these Urethanes and so on, and it's even out the playing field quite a lot.
Actually, the PBA at the moment, it reminds me a little bit of what goes on with the NBA. It's a lot of people coming from all over the world and becoming successful over there. If we go back to the times where Mats was in the USA, Mats Carlson, for those of you who don't really remember or know about Mats Carlson, it was one of the best bowlers, or probably the best bowler in Sweden during the 70s, 80s, early 90s. He was the first Swedish bowler to go to the PBA, to win events on the PBA. First European, I guess, to win on the PBA. And I had the chance when I was very young, by 14, 15 years, more or less, the first few times I came up here to Sweden to learn something about bowling. And so obviously Mats was the guy you wanted to ask and wonder, and he was so humble, and he would explain as much as he could. And one of the things I remember, he explained how the Americans at the beginning, they made it very hard for him. And he would walk into a locker room and there would be a little bit of whispers around and like, what are you doing here? Go back to your country, go back to whatever you are. I had the chance to speak with Anleto a few times because Venezuela, I'm from Barcelona, so we speak Spanish both. And he had a little bit of the same thing until they became a little bit successful. Then they started to win some tournaments, they gained some of the respect. But nowadays, it's completely different. I mean, you can see when, for example, when you have the Lucky Larsen over here, and you see Anthony, you see Kyle, you see Andrew, they come here and they are friends. They are no longer like that ugly competitors or competition they had back in the 80s. So I guess they realize that we have a lot of talent also around the world and also outside the PBA. And then on the other hand, since they have started to come and bowl more often into European zones and Asian zones, they get to know also the bowlers, that the very good bowlers that there is out there, because there's very good bowlers all around the world,
Yeah.
not only in United States. I mean, we have Scandinavia, Sweden, Finland, Norway. You go to Asia, you got Korea, you got Malaysia, you got even back then Philippines with Pang,
Yeah.
4 times world champ. I mean, there's been successful bowlers and good bowlers all around the world, and the fact that now the world has become a little bit closer one to another, quicker to fly anywhere, quicker to talk to anyone through Facebook or internet and stuff like that. It made the PBA a little bit more open, a little bit more welcoming to the foreign bowlers.
Yeah, I have to say too that this hostile environment, it's still a little bit tougher to go to the tour than when they go here. It's maybe a little bit more like a vacation trip for them. And I would say that we spend a little bit more time helping them out here than they would do.
Than they do when
Yes,
we go
for
all,
sure.
all over there.
Because we're there trying to screw around with their livelihood.
Mm.
Uh, but you can see, for example, in the World Series this year, where Malaysia took the first title, then Singapore the next one, and Sweden the third
Sweden,
one,
the third one.
and then we finished off strong with Jesper dominating in the end. So clearly that we make an impact there. And then the tricky part with the tour is that it's changing all the time. Sometimes they have like a top 50 from the previous year, they can play all the stops, the other one needs to hit the cues. And the next year, that's not the rules anymore. Now it's different for each tournament. Then the next time, it's hard to get into the World Series, but the next time you can. So what we've been trying to do is, I want the guys to go on the tour, not because maybe I want them to be full-time professional bowlers, but I know that if you make it on the PBA tour, you're gonna be fine. Whatever happens in the championships, they're gonna be able to fix it. So we usually try to send. Last time it was 14 Swedish people to the PBA tour,
Wow.
and I think the good part with having a lot of people going there is that it's very hard to do it alone. Like if somebody just wants to go on the PBA
On
tour
his own, yeah.
on his own the first time, it's a little bit tough environment,
It's
and no
tough.
one's gonna
It's
help you with.
expensive as well. I mean, if you travel on your own,
Yeah.
you don't share hotel rooms, and you
Yeah.
have to drive miles and miles on
Yeah.
your own and stuff. Obviously, it's going to become more expensive. Also, if you don't have a good day, you need to make a phone call back home, which is going to be also very expensive.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. In a way, it reminds me back in the late 90s when Magnus Johnson was coaching for Sweden. And since he spoke Spanish and I had a good relation with you guys, I was coming up to Sweden 3 or 4 times a year. We made a few kind of friendly matches
Mm-hmm.
that obviously for Sweden to meet Spain made no sense because you guys learned nothing. Maybe it was the fun of being down in Barcelona and having fun at the beach and doing a little bit of tourism. But for the Spanish team, it was fantastic. I mean, it was the most successful years in the history of the bowling in Spain. It was when we had the chance to come up here and do a few friendly matches against you, or you went down there and make a few friendly matches with us. It made a huge impact, made our level increase. So I guess in a way that's a little bit what happens when you send
Yeah.
10, 15 bowlers from Sweden to bowl in the PBA amongst the best bowlers in the planet.
Yeah.
You get forced to become better.
Yeah.
You have to learn, you have to prepare mentally, you have to prepare physically, and it becomes a training for whenever you come back and bowl on the amateur bowling again.
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge for all the guys is to make scheduling work, to do everything. Swedish League, the European Tour, the PBA Tour, tournaments in Sweden and Europe outside of the European, and then you're gonna piece it all together and find out when do I need to be at my best. Is it for the championship? Is it for the PBA? Is it for the playoffs in the league? And try to and like we said, at one point you have to use the purple hammer. The next one you can't use the purple hammer.
It's not
The next
allowed.
one, it's gonna be high scoring and low scoring. So you have to be pretty versatile.
If you allow me to ask, I think that's a very interesting topic you just said. You actually want to control when you want to be at your best.
Yeah.
And that is something as amateur bowlers. Even for me, I coach a lot. I've been coaching for nearly 30 years now, maybe 32 years actually. And not that I'm that old, but due to the level in Spain, when I was 13, 14 years old, I was already coaching people there, even people in the national team, because the knowledge is very low. But what I mean, even for me that I've been on the business for so long, I haven't never really thought, or I've never really seen it in that perspective, that I need to be at my best that certain amount of period on the season. For me, I always wanted to be on the best shape from January the 1st until December the 31st, and obviously it's impossible. We all have ups and downs, and you have some period where you bowl better, some period you bowl worse. So tell us a little bit, especially for the amateur ones, how can you plan that? How can you get to more or less try to control that state of shape? How to get it to the top at the moment you want it at the top?
Yeah, I would say that also this has changed a little bit through the years. And if we go pre-pandemic, we had a little bit less championships. So maybe you had one every year, either a world championship or a European championship. When we used to bowl, it was even less. It was a European championship every second year, world championship every fourth year.
True.
So then you could for sure set that this is the main goal for the year, and then you could backtrack maybe 12 weeks and start making a training schedule where you had a lot of maybe physical training and going on to competition training, making it a little bit less so in the end, so you're fresh and ready for the competition. Now, then COVID hit, and just talking for Sweden, we couldn't compete here, but we could still train. So we trained a lot. So when the pandemic ends, we were in pretty good shape. So we did really well in the next World Championship and so on. And now it's a little bit tricky with so many championships.
It's too many events. You don't really find the space in the calendar to sit down and say, okay, now I need to focus on whatever I need to focus for a couple of weeks. Either it's my steps or my release, or I've lost a little bit of feeling with whatever in my game, and I'm going to work on that. It's becoming tougher due to such a busy schedule.
Yeah. So if the Swedish men would bowl all the events this year, we would have had the World Cup in January, European Championship in June, and World Championship in November. So
that's three major events in the
and
national team in just one season.
That's on top of all competitions that we play also. And Jesper told me, he said, Robert, remember when we were going to play the first European and the World Championship 2012? You told me I needed to prepare for 12 weeks. Yeah, it's pretty hard to do 3 times a year, I think. Yeah, when you say it like that, it's pretty difficult.
That's going to take 36 weeks away, plus he's doing the tour, so...
and the actual championships.
When is he taking a break, right?
So we actually played our European Championship this year without Jesper and James for the reason that we can't get the schedule to work to do everything.
No,
and
exactly.
We need to sacrifice something to make for hopefully better results in the things we do than to go around doing everything.
In between,
half.
you have to commit. You have to commit. Otherwise, it's better to take a break and leave the spot to the next one. At least
Yep.
they may
I
have the
mean,
hunger. They may have the
and
energy.
we're also blessed enough to have a lot of good players. So
I
we're
was
still
gonna
having.
say, at least up here you have a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing for some other
No, some
countries.
other countries have stars which they cannot be without. I would guess that the problem is now also with if you are that guy and the team relies on you, and then the team relies on you on the league, and then you want to be on the PBA, and all of a sudden when you're in a tough spot and you're not doing so well, mentally bowling can be quite hard.
It is. It is. Definitely is. It can eat you alive. And it's one of those games that, since we rely so much in muscle memory, as soon as the brain is not properly on the right spot, all the feelings get lost. And you start doubting yourself. You don't find your repetition. You don't make that click that makes everything become automatic, and then you just really pretty much stop thinking and just look at the target and hit the target over and over again. So it's very important to keep the brain fresh as well.
I have to add now, Robin is bowling Blake Walsh, and Blake's father and Jason Belmont were in the team when me and Martin won the World Championship in doubles. So you're getting a little bit older when you know most of the people's fathers and not themselves. But it's good to see that the generation is it's a new generation taking over of some of the old champs that we used to see.
Now that you mentioned Blake, I mean, he looks very solid, very consistent. He does it very easy, and balls to hands. He's got the rev rate, obviously. He's got the speed, but he also has this kind of a physical game that it makes it look so smooth, kind of natural. It's one of the things that I would say that I have seen changing in the past 5 years. It's obviously more and more two-handed bowlers, but it feels like now also the people running the coaching staff and the diploma staff and all that things, they have a better idea, a better understanding on what the two-handed need. If I put my brain or my memories back on maybe 5 6 years ago, most of the two-handers, they seemed to be a little bit stiff. Everything was a little bit forced. It's like we had not, and I am going to include myself obviously as an ex-bowler and as a coach, we had not yet really assimilated how things needed to be done for them to have the right timing and not to have to overdo things. Nowadays, when we see, for example, this year, for me was amazing to see Ethan Fury when he's
Lovely stuff.
doing those three steps things. It was like I looked at him and I'm like, yeah, now I see it as a coach even easier. Now I know exactly what was missing over there. I was trying to get there. I was trying to make the guys maybe a little bit shorter approach, maybe a little bit faster speed, because obviously the swing is a lot shorter from two hands to one hand, and you want to make sure that the timing is the right one. But when you see how much later they do the push away, especially Ethan Fury compared to a one-handed, then you realize, like, of course, I mean, the swing is so much shorter. If you don't want them to speed up too much and lose control, you just need to make one step later the push away, and then the timing fits perfectly, and then they don't need extra, and everything becomes smooth, and it becomes consistent, it becomes natural, fluid,
Yeah.
and that's a little bit the evolution I think we are experiencing now for the past 3 4 5 years on the two-handed. It's becoming a little bit more natural, not so much force, not only power and revolution, but control is starting to be a part of their game as well.
For sure. And also the ability to slow down, which I think is a little bit strange that it hasn't become quicker, because if you say that Jason is the best two-handed bowler that ever lived,
So far, yeah.
what is his strongest part? Well, he can go to the left and slow down. And then it took 10 years for anyone else to really go in that direction, which I think is a little bit strange, but we can clearly see that more people are doing it.
Yeah, because back then when we used to bowl a lot, it was just Jason and Oscar.
Yeah,
That was pretty much it.
yeah.
And at the beginning, most of the two-handers that were coming up, they were more looking like Oscar than actually Jason.
So, but now you can see now that many two-handers are evolving their own technique. Some are low rev two-handers, would be 500. So we would still consider it high rev, but not compared to 600.
No,
So,
definitely. Yeah.
and it's we've been trying to establish some kind of like. I never really liked that we were so bound to how we were supposed to bowl back in the days. The steps were supposed to be this many centimeters.
Yeah, I
Timing should
remember
be this
that.
for
I
everyone.
remember that.
And then we started to see that Tim Mack they had another timing and he could produce much more power, and they started to evolve.
I remember when we stopped using that super long previous step to the slide,
Yeah.
and then we said, "Oh, why not do a power step? It's gonna work a lot better in terms of timing, in terms of power." And that's more or less what we were talking about 15, 20 minutes ago. Eternal evolution.
Yeah.
The game keeps evolving, the technique keeps evolving, and not only for the bowlers, but for the coaches out there, the coaches who may be watching and listening. This never ends.
No.
I mean, you need to stay updated,
If
and
you
you
miss
need
a few years, you're done.
no, definitely. You need to analyze. You need to keep awake. You need to see what goes on because if you're trying to, I mean, as a coach, this is not football. This is not basketball. We're not going to make millions. So mostly when we coach, I guess we do it because we love the game and we want to spread the knowledge we have gained and the knowledge we have gotten from somebody else. It's time for us to share it with the next generation. And if we want to be a coach, and that's what we like, I think we really need to update our knowledge and our perspective of the game. It needs to be modern. You
Yeah.
need to stick to whatever is happening because otherwise, even if your intentions are to help someone, you may actually destroy that person's career.
It's a very thin line between not having any system whatsoever or having a system that's personalized bowler to bowler. Because clearly there has to be some kind of way to teach people to begin with. But we had a thing like when the 200 began, and we thought that you needed a high swing to get speed.
Mm.
And you can see, that guy has a high swing and he has good speed. Yeah, but that guy has a low swing and he also has high speed. And this guy has a high speed but lower speed. And then this doesn't correlate.
No,
So we
exactly.
did some research on that. You can see you can clearly get speed from having a higher swing, but you can also use spine tilt. Same kind of torque as you do in golf.
Hmm.
It's a separation between the pelvis and the hips to create power. Our bowler here, Robin, is very good at that. He basically has maybe one of the lower swings. But if
It's
you would
fun
ask
that
him, he can
you
throw.
mentioned that because now you actually brought my memory back to 2009. If you remember, I took a few breaks on my career to go for my DJ life. And there was a time in 2009 where the Catalan Federation got independent from the Spanish Federation.
Yeah.
So the country was not independent, but the bowling federation was. I was on one of my long breaks. I haven't bowled for, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And I got a phone call from the Catalan Federation. We are independent now, and we need you to bowl something because we're going to bowl a few competitions. And we believe even if you haven't bowled for a few years, we have a better chance if you come back. And the thing is that why I'm saying that is because they hired Sid Allen as a coach.
Mhm.
And for me back then, when I came back, I was 100% Swedish school from the 90s. So longer step before the foul line, very relaxed arm, nothing on the elbow. I never used the elbow at all. So I mostly just let the ball do the job. So when I met Sid, of course, I bowled for one season only, so I could help them with whatever they needed. And I had the pleasure to meet Sid. we have crossed paths many times in world championships and stuff like that, but we never really spoken, and even less about bowling. And you've been down there in Barcelona a few times and Spain bowling there. You know the knowledge is not so big. So for Sid to be down there, when he spoke a little bit with the guys, he quickly realized like, okay, if I want to talk bowling, I have to talk to Luis. Otherwise, they're not really understanding what I'm talking about. And the reason why I'm talking about Sid is because one of the first things he wanted to change on me, it was to move the ball on the third step, not on the second one. And he wanted me to drop it down, but he wanted me to have a very short swing and bend down my head. So it would be my body, my upper body would go down, and that would generate a higher backswing, but not the arm. And the main reason for that, it was that the shorter the swing, the easier it became to be under the ball and to use the elbow. So it actually took him 5 minutes of explanation, and he gave me a small basketball, very small basketball I could fit in my hand, and he said to me like, okay, if you wanted to make this little basketball have the maximum rep rate, what would you do? And I'd say, I would do like this. So I did kind of the yo-yo motion. And he goes like, why don't you do the same with the bowling ball? And silly me, I ask, yeah, but now you see when I do this, my elbow is not straight, and who cares? He says, who cares? And I'm like, so you mean I can use my elbow? And he goes like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead. First shot, my ball went straight to the left gutter. It had 3 times the reps I used to have. So I went back to that because what you say, it's funny that we're talking about the two-handers, but there was already some people like Sid Allen that already 15 years ago, even if it was a one-handed, they already could visualize this kind of motion happening of a shorter swing, easy to keep the hand under the ball, easy to use the elbow, easy to generate power. So that's why I mean it's so many people out there that they know so much about the game. And the main thing you have to do if you want to learn on this game is become humble. Become very humble. Don't believe you know everything, and go out there and ask the people who knows a lot, because then you will learn a lot.
I also had the pleasure of spending some time with Sid. Very good,
And very funny.
very fun.
Very funny coach.
And on the same subject, Rick Benoit, who used to be on the tour, I worked with him in Saudi Arabia. He also had a drill. The first thing he taught kids was to stand with a foot in the gutter, and you had to release the ball onto the lane, but with so much motion that the ball just spin and came back.
And came backwards.
So, and they also had a machine for that, and it was pretty smart because when kids, the first thing they learn is to hook the ball. They like it and they continue. If they go for a week and nothing happens, many of them like it. So.
Yeah.
But when you spend that little time to make the ball hook, everything is more fun. And the youth program became very successful.
Now it's one of the things you realize when you get into a bowling alley today on open bowling, because they see obviously YouTube and all these things. It's easy to see bowling today. They don't use the thumb. It's not that they bowl two hands, because most of them they even use one hand, but they don't put the thumb in there anymore. And you can see open bowling and they all hook the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we talk a bit about scoring, because I only see strikes pretty much everywhere. I think the lowest game I can see is a 197.
Yeah, the scores are high. Really.
To 30, to 30, to 70, to 60. Unbelievable.
Score for 3 games is already the cut score. It's almost 130 over. Then we have
Oh, now we are already in
Robin.
4 games.
Yeah, and Robin is 164 over and he's the cut.
Okay,
With the bonus points.
that's crazy. Let's go all the way up to the top. We have Estonia on the first position at the moment. 90 pins of bonus, so he's won 3 out of 4. He's bowling 251 average at the moment, so he's at 1096 with the bonus. Finland is on second position, also 90 pins bonus, 244.8 average, so now he's sitting at second place with 1069. Australia is third with 1048, Norway 1035, Malta 1014, and Singapore sixth place it's got 1,000. So, yeah, nobody is below 200 average at the moment. The two lowest scores are 200.3, 200.3. And the cut, as you said, is Robin with 964. And we are halfway through the day. High scoring again, definitely a lot of high scoring. We're gonna have to see what goes on this 5th and 6th game. It's only one player per lane today, so the transition may have taken a little longer to appear. But this last game was pretty high for pretty much every bowler up there. So either they figured out the transition quicker than we expected, or it's not really there yet.
I was just looking fun to see scores from the European Championship. My head is a little bit screwed up because the scores here now, they would be very decent score in 5 games in the European Championship. And some of the youth people, to be honest, had big problems with other chicken
in Aalborg, with that little bit more messy.
And now the same guys here, they're just dominating this place instead. So it's clear that you become a product of your own environment. Some older bowler would not be impressed that you can just shoot high scores on easy lanes. But we have to realize now that this is also a kind of skill. Like when the lanes get to a point where you can average 250, you have to have the power to do that.
You have to have the ability, and you have to be used to that as well.
You can't be scared.
Actually, you brought me back memories. God, I'm getting old. I'm only talking about the past. But I remember the first 3 or 4 times I came up to bowl in Scandinavia, especially when you had the Eastern Opens. It was the last Lion Cup and a couple of small events, and the same thing when the Danish tour was going on. I remember it was like seven tournaments in a couple of weekends, and Thomas was having a lot of fun with me back then because he was like, I don't get it. Every time we go to a tough bowling alley where like top 8 is just 200 average, you manage to make the top 8 easy. Then we move to the next bowling alley where the cut is 230 and you are so far below. You have the same average on the very tough lanes than you have on the very easy lanes. And for me, it was like, I don't know why. I mostly blame in that we back then we only had wooden lanes in Spain, and many of the conditions were very tough because they were not even oil machines. They still did the oil with their hands and stuff like that. And we can ask Patrick Bakker later on his experience when he came down and bowled a tournament in Benidorm. I think he's going to be very excited to explain what happened over there. I was going to say, he ended up bowling with a spare ball without his inserts. And he was making fun the day before we left down there because I shined as much as I could 8 reactive balls. And he was like, why are you shining them all? And I said, because I plan to use one ball every 2 games. I knew how dry it was going to be. But the main thing is, what I mean is that if you're not mentally prepared for that, it doesn't matter how easy the lanes are. If you're not mentally accustomed to bowl high games over and over again, it becomes overwhelming for you. And then you go to a very tough pattern, and because that's what you face all the time, you bowl as good or even better than those who have bowled 250. So again, we go back that not only technique, not only lane reading and pinfall reading, but also the mind. The mental game is such an important aspect in this sport as well.
Yeah, and also I feel a bit like social media wasn't a big thing for us. So right now, when these guys, they are usually averaging 230 to 240 in their home places, and everyone having a pretty big expectation when they go to the European Championship, and the lanes are really difficult and they average 50 less than they used to, and you start, why is this guy in the team? I could do better than this. I have, and it's so reachable now than before. So I felt bad for some of the younger guys, maybe bowling their first European Championship, and maybe the first time also that it's one thing to get really nervous and the lanes are easy. But when you get really nervous, you play in a team, everyone watching, and the lanes are difficult, you're starting to struggle with a lot of feelings that's not very nice.
And also,
Like,
I think I would add, I've been saying that every single squad, but since this generation
Mhm.
is used to bowl such high scoring
Mhm.
and so many strikes, they are a step or two lower in terms of sparing
Correct.
compared to our
Correct.
generation. So when you
Correct.
put them on such tougher patterns and they have to spare 6 times every game,
Yeah.
then it shows off even more.
Yes. So uh, that's also maybe a strange part of our sport to try to explain to people what's happening. But I don't know. It's just you have to trust that all these guys are gonna do their absolutely best wherever they go. So it's just sad to see when people are making mean comments to people online.
Unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
social media today. I mean,
Yes. It's very easy to do that. You can just sit behind your computer and write shit.
you don't even have to
Mhm.
put your name there. You just put a nickname, and nobody knows who you are, and you start talking all the crap in the world. It's not very polite, but unfortunately, it's something that's quite popular nowadays.
Mhm. So we'll see if Robin can do something about the leader here. Unfortunately, like when you said the spare shooting, he missed a spare SAR. He still has 300 over to take from. So
He can save a few actually. I'm pretty sure if I ask any of the guys, they will go like, you know what? I don't care
yeah.
if I would ever get to be as a good sparer as you were or Walter Ray or that, but I'm pretty sure you would like to make as many strikes as we are doing.
We had
And
a PBA Sweden now. We have a small regional
maybe a
tour.
regional Sweden,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So we had it in Eskilstuna, and we had Joakim Karlsson. He was here
Mm-hmm.
playing the first event. In the US, he got the nickname the Beast, and I've always been a huge fan because he, as a thumb in bowler, he still gets his 600 RPMs.
Oh, that's a lot.
Uh, and he played one of my favorite bowlers, Stefan Yngström,
Stefan, oi, oi,
who
oi.
and he made the finals. It was a hard pattern, so he got to bowl Joakim in the
In
playoffs.
the playoffs.
And Stefan had one open to shoot 20 under, and Joakim had three opens to shoot 200 over. And Yngström went on a rant to, you see everyone how important it is to keep your spares, not getting too many unnecessary open frames like Joakim here, and made a very ironic and fun comment about, yes, of course.
Stefan is has yeah,
Mhm.
he has always been a funny guy, a very good bowler, very particular, coming from very up north in the country.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
far north as you can get.
so it's probably he hasn't seen the moon in a few weeks now, right?
No, no, he doesn't live there anymore.
Oh, he's moved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He lives actually pretty close to me. He sometimes comes over to Eskilstuna. We have some play
Uh-huh.
matches to each other. He has a pretty funny. He has a kid, uh, which is he's a huge Jesper Svensson fan.
Uh-huh.
So every time Pergamon bowls Stefan's team, his kids would show
It's
up in
going with
Pergamon.
Pergamon instead
Yeah.
of
And,
rooting for that.
yeah, and yeah, yeah. We didn't talk in the car. So. No. So now it's a
Oh, yeah. Oh,
oh, he
okay.
made it.
17 went down. That was a bad break.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, let's see. So Slovakia is currently out of the gut by 35. It seems like he's not liking it to change that much from side to side as he was enjoying when they were moving just after each game. Couple of pairs here, couple of pairs there.
I think also even if the rev rate is high to begin with, the more times we're gonna cut the field, the rev rate average will go up because those are the guys he just keeps. So maybe it will be harder for him to find the same.
Same room he
Yeah,
did on the
yeah.
first couple of days. It's a little bit different transition going on. It's only one bowler per lane. And also the temperature today is a little bit different. It's more sunny, less humidity. So it's always many different aspects that are gonna affect what goes on the lanes.
Yeah.
Obviously, the main one is gonna be whatever the guys are doing with their balls and the shapes and the surfaces. because that's the only thing that's going to be in touch with the oil, the bowling ball. So that's what's going to affect the pattern the most.
I think that this year we played this tournament 2 years ago in Peru, and it ended up with Robin winning it. But that time they played the all 16 games in a row. It was a 16 game round robin with no Rio. Then it turned pretty messy in the end.
I can
and it was
understand.
quite
16
hard.
games is a lot.
Yeah, it was
obviously.
hard both physically and also for the lane to withstand that. So I think they made a good decision of splitting this up
Split
into
into 2 days.
Yeah,
I think also it's a little bit more fair for the one-handed bowlers.
yeah,
Because one of the real advantages on a two-handed, when you have a very long format, you never get any issues with the thumb.
yeah,
And as
yeah.
a single bowler or single-handed bowler, when you bowl a big amount of games, especially unless you're drilling your own ball and you know exactly what you're doing, and then it's not so painful, it can become a little bit tricky. You know, you start getting sweaty and your thumb gets a little bit thicker, and then you start removing tapes, then you grip it a little bit more than you should, then your thumb's not straight enough, the skin starts spilling, and then it becomes a nightmare when you start with the skin patch, and then at the worst case scenario you even have to go for super glue and have a couple of tears in your eyes because it's
Yeah.
so itchy.
I usually make a little joke about that. If you're in the business of selling skin patch and stuff now, you
You're
might
dead.
want to be looking for some other
You're dead. You
revenues.
better look for something else, definitely.
Yeah,
On the other hand, I must say, as a bowl driller, it's a pleasure to drill for two-handers.
it must be easy.
It's a lot easier. You don't really have to think about the thumb. You no longer have to think about the span. I mean, I see a lot of two-handed bowls that are not really done how they should be done, but it's a lot easier. It definitely is easier and quicker.
I remember one time we were going away on a tournament, and Oscar was supposed to go with us, and we were going to the airport. I said, "Oh wait, guys, you just have to drill 4 balls." What? You can't do that. We have to leave. And then like 10 minutes later, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, of course.
Just prep, prep, prep.
It's a lot quicker. It's definitely a lot quicker. All right, let's see what's going on in the
So
scores.
Ilhamar managed to get away with a win, even though he only bowled 220.
220 today seems to be a low game.
Yeah. We're seeing that Ben Petit is bowling okay, but 250 is not gonna cut it for him because Michael from Iceland is gonna get 250 just to make a mark. Or to be honest, 257 against 256, so it's not quite ready there. So it's a tight match.
He needs a spare.
Needs a spare
Michael
and a
needs
strike.
spare.
We're seeing
It's a very high game also in lane 4 for Denmark.
and some problems for Malta, which is sitting inside the cut in 5th place. He can save 210 and lose, but a below 200 loss here, it can cause you quite a lot of harm in the results.
We see Norway just shot 248 and still gonna lose his game.
And Lucas, I said, you would think that it would be hard for him to stay outside all the time, but he will just keep sending it with more and more speed there. So, very impressed by him.
He's looking very comfortable today.
Yeah, and you see him everywhere you go. Like when I see people all the time, I go to the PBA, I see him. I go to the men's European Championship, I see him. You go to the youth, you see him. You know that it's going to be very dangerous bowler. That shows up everywhere.
It definitely is another country you want to think about in terms of how many good bowlers for such a small population.
Yeah,
Up there in Finland. I mean, we have Santu.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they had Mika.
Yeah,
I mean, they have Thomas Kaiko now. Is also succeeding over the PBA.
Yeah. They have plenty of bowlers, and they have a lot like Nico Uksanen. It's a great bowler. You can see when you start winning the Finnish championship, you know that you pass a lot of
cuts.
Yeah, you don't have to. We know you're good. You don't have to.
Enough.
Yeah, and Tonteri's played for the team for a long time, and back in the days when you had Lasse Lintele, Pasi Uttila,
Timo
Mannonen,
Ratikkanen,
Salonen,
Antti
and all those guys
Pekkalaisen,
are now making the 50
Sami,
plus team, the seniors. They're gonna have an awesome team.
and Kimmo. What about Kimmo?
Yeah.
It's never ending, yeah?
No. So we always have this fairly heated fights with Finland.
I know,
Who dominates the European
Sweden and
bowling?
Finland.
Yeah.
I mean, still today, Mika
Yeah.
is not happy with me because you guys, we had the European five-man championship in Helsinki, and at the very last game, everything was tied between Sweden and Finland, and Spain was bowling against Finland in the middle of the bowling alley on the very last game. And Thomas and Backe and Magnus, they all came to us like, hey, Luis, now you have to beat them. You have to beat them. If you beat them, we're going to be the European champions. And the funny thing is, just 5 or 6 months earlier, it was Mika that he managed to get me an international sponsorship contract with Ebonite. So obviously I felt guilty. But my coaches, in a way, and my friends were in Team Sweden. And I remember that game because we had Esteves, remember the lefty,
Yeah.
the senior. He started with the front nine. I started with the front nine, and Marcialo Bidi started with the front eight. So we shot probably the highest game was about 1020 on the whole week. And in that particular game, we shot 11 something. So obviously we did win that match, and Sweden was was the European champion. And I remember Mika joking, grabbing me on the shirt, you can say goodbye to the contract.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also they have a match, Chris Barnes and Mika, and whoever wins design a shirt the other one needs to use on TV the next time they bowl. Usually it's some kind of Swedish shirt he had to use with Swedish hockey players on it, and so it's clearly that it's a very sore point for him.
Well,
Last time he made a shirt with all the leftists that bowl on the PBA tour. He had pictures of all the left-handed, and he had to use it on TV. It's great with the sense. And we have this thing, we really don't like losing to each other, but I think just like all the other relationships, I think it's pretty good right now. Like we really respect the work they do, the way they produce great bowlers.
it's a nice camaraderie between
Yeah.
the two national
Yeah.
teams.
Even though we don't like to lose each other, we just have to.
But we could call it a little bit. For me, it's like the bowling derby. I mean, the Barca Madrid we see in football. For me,
Yeah.
it's always. I mean, your neighbors with Norway, your neighbors with Denmark, but the real derby, it seems to be always Sweden and Finland.
We
And I
have-
guess it happens the same with hockey and
Yeah.
some other
Yeah.
sports.
It would be the same there. And also, I would say the culture is fairly similar to, like, we're way more bowlers in Sweden and Finland than the other Nordic countries, and there's more tournaments. And in the beginning, there was the AIK and Bowlmaster, and so. But for sure, they're a force to be reckoned with. All right, have you gotten the scores yet? Not yet. Coming up soon.
There is a little break on the lane. Oh, there's one shot yet to do on lane 12. That's the reason why.
There we go.
Yeah, that was the 12th lane.
So Malaysia is having some problems, not doing too well, and also losing with 170 is costly.
Yeah, especially when the people who's winning, they are making. I mean, we have 279 here, 279
Yeah,
there,
you're losing 100 points like that. So,
258, 255, 230. And you make 190 or 180 and you lose, and you drop 70 pins all of a sudden.
and you can see also it was a few games ago, but the kid from Romania is also bowling backup now.
I was gonna say now Romania just decided to go backup as well.
Yeah, did it a few games now, but I'm sure it's for the transition. And if you can do it, it's gonna stay fresh for longer. And I don't think we have many lefties in this championship.
I don't recall having one now on top 16.
Which is kind of weird. Bowling wise, usually quite a lot of left-handers are involved in the finals.
especially for the amount of left bowlers
Mhm.
playing. I mean, the percentage going in is usually fairly high.
So now the scores are up, and we need 200 over to be in the cut.
Now the cut is Malta with 12.06. Robin is 11 pins ahead.
And Lucas is on top, almost 1400 for 5.
Yeah,
But it's with the bonus. It's with the bonus.
with the
still,
bonus,
still huge.
120. But still, that means he shot 1250. So that's 250 average, 251.6. Denmark is 240 average, Estonia is 240 average, Norway is 244 average. It just have a little bit less bonus compared to the others. And top 5 is still 235 on average without any bonus. So obviously the score is not low.
And if the scores is like this, it might be a little bit fortunate for the right-handed bowlers that it wasn't any really good lefties here. If the
True.
scoring pace was so high from the beginning, and if we see the previous Lucky Larsen here, we had Jesper winning it against Theodore, a fairly new
True.
good lefty here, and in the semi-finals, James Blomgren was
James
out.
was there as well.
So it was 3 out of 4, and then we had old Lucky Larsen himself. But
Yeah, yesterday we were talking a bit, or was it this morning? We spoke about Paul Moore. Remember Paul Moore?
yeah,
He would do quite fun on this pattern, staying out there on the left side.
yeah. I mean, I think the pattern is holding up pretty good anyway. You don't see any really weird stuff yet. I think many of the right-handed bowlers are keeping quite a lot to the right still. You would imagine maybe a few needed to go more, but
they seem to be comfortable and just moving
Yeah.
further out and just making the ball go faster.
And it's something that it's a little bit hard as a coach. That first period of your coaching life, you're gonna maybe try to tell people how you would have solved the problem. But when you get far enough technically from the bowlers, you have to realize that that's not super useful information.
No, they do things different nowadays. So you have to adapt your coaching to what you have.
Yeah. So I have two fun. For me, it's always been fairly easy to slow down. Much harder to speed up. And I have two fun. One is now from the European Championship where we needed to go to reactives. And I was talking to Robin about slowing down. And it didn't slow down so much. It was still fast. And he threw one, but in my mind I said, God damn it, it's fast. And he goes back, well, I don't know, man. You can't throw it much slower than that. We're not on the same page here. And then I have another one from 10 years ago. I played with Joachim Karlsson in the trios in the World Championship, and we were bowling the long pattern. And he was going straight and so fast, and he was hooking early. I said, Joachim, you're gonna have to move left. You know, I can just throw it a little bit faster. I don't know if it's possible, but you know what to do. And he threw the ball like it was not going up in the air. It was just a little bit above the lane the whole way. And then you go, okay. Clearly, you have some gears that I don't possess. So if you have those solutions, just go for it.
It's true. I found myself with this situation, especially when I was coaching up there in Mora. I tried to help them understand how many different ways you can approach a lane. I mean, you don't always have to do the same. You just have to try to suit your game to whatever you find on the lanes. But for them, even if for me it was super easy to just adjust my approach, and if I want to slow down, obviously my swing's gonna be shorter in order to keep a little bit less inertia from the swing and the ball. And the other thing I would do is shorten up my approach. Since my swing is going to be shorter, I want my approach to be a little bit shorter so my timing doesn't get out of the spot. But for the two-handers, I mean, for example, Lucas. You know, Lucas is super powerful. He reminds me a little bit what Oscar did back in the day. And he's super talented. And Of course, after I explain, he could do it, but you could see it's not his natural.
No.
So it just becomes like a B game for them. And for me also, since I've been in bowling for so many years, I didn't wanted them to just stick only to the purple hammer and that same shot over and over again. Because okay, one thing is what you do in your own bowling alley, but as soon as you start traveling and you bowl in 40 different countries with each particular way of seeing the game. When you go to the south of Europe, usually you're gonna have more friction. You go to Asia. I haven't been in Asia for quite a while, but back then when you went to Asia, it was tougher lanes, tougher back end reaction, a little bit tighter lanes. So you need to become versatile. I mean, we come from the school of the times like Norm Duke, Brian Boss. You can see them do a lot of things. Now they go forward, now they go sideways, now they speed up a little bit, now they slow down a little bit. So I wanted them to become this kind of versatile so they could do a little bit of everything. But it's not as simple for them because in their natural skills is the speed, it's the power, it's the bowling they have grown on. And it's not that simple. It's not that simple. So I agree with you that maybe it may have worked for us, and of course it's always good for them to learn different stuff so they become more awake of the possibilities out there. But maybe it's not the best solution for them all the time. Maybe it's easier to do like we said with Finland or Jenny. She's doing
Yeah.
the girl from Norway. She
Yeah.
just moves further outside and increases the speed.
Yeah. For sure. Everyone needs to find their own ways to deal with the problems. And we can see also when we're talking about Nick Carter doing really well. He's in second place. I'm from Denmark, a thumbing bowler, so it's nice to see that it's also possible. But now Robin is making a move here, also is trying to take Utting down this match, and it kind of looks like he's gonna do that.
Yeah, Matthias got a tough frame on the feed frame
Yeah.
with that 4 and 5. Luckily for him, it was just after the strike and not after the double, because when you get one of those 4, it really is annoying, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You drop down like 30, 40 pins in just one frame.
Yeah. If we can see the scoring pace, it definitely hasn't slowed down, and I can imagine now also the bowlers who are stuck in maybe the last 3 or 4 or 5 spots, they're gonna feel a little bit pressure of doing stuff, and it's a very dangerous situation there, where if you go the wrong direction, you can put yourself in a very tough spot for tomorrow.
Yeah, you try too hard and then you may give away too much distance for tomorrow. And we have to remember it's still another day to go.
Yeah.
So you have to be very patient. You don't need to overdo anything. As we said before, if it's not working as good as I wanted, at least keep your spares, keep the ball on the target. Don't make any super low games. Try to save as many pins as you can.
And we can clearly see, especially on the fresh, there's a possibility that somebody's going to come out the gates tomorrow with close to 800 for 3 without the bonus, and then you can really pick up a lot of pins. But yeah, too many below 200 games now. It's going to be hard tomorrow. And tomorrow, I think there is only 7 games. Is it also the last?
7 games tomorrow, right?
So it's 8 today and 7 tomorrow. So yeah, it's not equally amount of games to pick up what you lose today. So Robin get to 50 and win. That would be huge for him since he's just inside of the cut.
Lucas is still playing on a league on his own today. He's got strikes bear and X4.
Yeah.
Working on
Carter
a
is having the same kind of pace this game.
Yeah, it's a few of them that they seem to be. I mean, after 5 games, bowling over 240 average, it means you really are comfortable out there. You're not struggling, you're not feeling any pressure, you're just enjoying whatever you do.
But now Utting is putting himself in a place where it can actually be a little bit damaging game for him. Even though he has almost 100 pins to the cut, it goes by pretty quickly. If you
As
shoot
we said
180.
before, if you just shoot 180 or 190 and you don't make the bonus, all of a sudden you drop 60, 70 pins with the guys that were on the top with you.
It's going to be the only thing we can say that tomorrow when they're moving into the top 8 and they're playing that really short round with only best out of 3, we're going to see somebody getting really unlucky.
Yes.
Somebody's going to bowl great and lose. And it's going to be brutal.
But that is one of the aspects that we have to accept with our sport. I mean, it's probably one of the very few sports where the best one doesn't always win. I mean,
Yeah.
you go to tennis and when you see Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, when they were at their best, you expect them to win at least 4 out of 5 in events.
You can see it on the tour though. That's very few step ladders without tackles. Very few. But I agree. But it's also our sport is a little bit different than other sports. So that we would start with very many games, and then moving up to where it's really important, it goes to fewer games. It's a little bit reversed what they do in other. Like for example, snooker, you would have the first matches only 5 frames, and then there would be more and more. But it is what it is, and I just feel bad for the guys that's gonna bowl great in the 18 games qualification, great in the 16 games round robin, and then it's just up to 2 games if you get a medal or not.
I'll confess, actually, when I was younger and I bowled a lot, I really hated step ladders. I really did hate step ladders, especially bowling down in Spain. You remember Marcial Abide?
Yep.
I can probably recall 4 or 5 opens what I faced him on the final, on the very last game, and I shot more than 300 pins than him during the event. So in any other sport, even if I made 0 and he made 300, he still have less pins than I did. But I ended up losing that that step ladder match, and mainly it also happened that we had or in Spain they had the tendency to never do the lanes for the step ladder. You bowl the final and you bowl what has many games, and okay, it's over now, let's bowl the step ladder. So we don't re-oil, we never bowl them fresh. And if you remember, I was always the outside guy while Obide was the inside guy. So when we get to the step ladder, for me the lanes were kind of burned. I didn't have any room inside anymore, and for him it was like, okay, the lanes have opened up.
Perfect.
And I know now it sounds I'm saying like he wasn't good and I was good. No, I don't mean that. But the frustration you feel when you, I made 300 pins more than him and I just lost by 5, but I lost the tournament.
We bowled this in Peru, and Nora, the 200 girl from Sweden,
another amazing bowler.
Yeah, she's very good, and she in this round she made it with 1,000 points. So she had 1,000 points more than the person she bowled in top 8, and Nora bowled okay, and the other guy just beat her, and it was like, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
very unpleasant surprise, but it happens.
It does happen. It does happen. The only thing that I don't know right now, it's been a long time I have been coaching any national team or bowling in any national team. I left that for a few years ago. But at least, and that's something that doesn't happen on the Opens, you took home the all event medal.
Yeah.
I mean, you shot more than anyone. Okay, at least you have the gold medal as the all event. But now. When that happens on an open, it doesn't matter. You can bowl 50 pins higher average than the next one, and still you lose by 1, and you become number 2.
Yeah. It's yeah.
I have said to myself many times, imagine they did that in golf.
Yeah.
You play the US Open and you are minus 15, and the second one is plus 1.
And then you play just
and then
one.
Okay, now we're gonna just play one hole, and let's see what happens. And then you lose. It's like, what?
It's also a little bit sensitive. I think that if you lose top 8, you don't even get a medal. It's another thing if 4 people will move on and everyone who loses get a bronze. Like then you got something. Now you get nothing.
Yeah, that's very sad as well.
But it is sports.
It
And
is
it's
what
tough.
it is. Yeah, it is what it is, and the rules are there, and you know them before you bowl, so you cannot complain afterwards.
No,
You
no.
already knew what was going to happen.
Huge move from Malaysia here. He can bowl 320, which is always helpful. And we said that the last two guys are gonna have to make some moves,
And
he
he's
probably
definitely
did.
going for one, yeah.
Yeah, lucky enough for him, it seemed to be the right move. It looks like he's not moving too much left. He's still going fairly straight from the outside.
And that's what we said on the other end. I mean, Czech Republic did a good game. He shot 237. That's a good game.
Yeah.
But still get no bonus, get no nothing, get beaten by 53 pins after 237. Not funny. High games for Robin as well, 259.
Yeah, that's certainly helpful, and he will probably be able to leave a few pins between himself and the cut. Where is
Then we had
Walsh?
Nicholas, we had also on lane 15, 16. Denmark, he's going to win the game. If it doubles, he's going to go for 239.
And
Which
Walsh
is a good game.
is also shooting 250. Can't really see.
249 if he strikes out, 249.
And where do we have
And Lucas
Malta?
is on 7-8. Lucas is facing Ireland. He gets another strike, so he's going to go for 230 something.
Yeah.
Plus the bonus again. He's going to take all the bonuses, just like Jenny did in the morning.
We can't see right
now.
now.
Oh, true, he lost one. He lost one in the middle. You see, guys, thanks we have Victor over here. He's much more awake than we are. He doesn't use any glasses or anything, but he sees things that we don't see. Crazy.
Yeah.
Not good getting old, is it?
No, for sure not. So I'm going to ask Victor Malta, how is he doing now? I don't think I can see him anywhere. There we go, 224. He's the cut. Because if we look at the cut now, Malta is number 8, and he's bowling a, I would say okay game, 220, but he's going to win. But both Ilhamar and Walsh is bowling
higher game and also getting the bonus, so they're gonna escape a little bit.
So they're gonna move up a little bit. So it's just interesting to see before tomorrow if for example 6 or 7 people are starting to pull away from the cut a little bit, you can expect the cut to go really high. And right now it's as if where Singapore was at. You see any score from Singapore?
Singapore is 204, but losing.
So that's gonna cost him.
Yeah, it's
we see Utting is also going to be.
It's gonna drop a couple of places, yes, with 190 and losing.
And 180 on Estonia. So I think that we're gonna see Walsh and Robin moving up the list quite rapidly now. Probably to place 3 and 4.
And Slovakia is not finding his way today. It's not that he's bowling bad. I mean, he shot 245, 187, 236, 201, 207. Now he just shot 203. It's not bad. It's on 215 average.
Yeah.
It's going to drop down maybe to 213, more or less. But he's not lucky with the bonus. I mean, he just lost. Blake shot 250 on him.
Yeah. But you're going to get pretty lucky if you want to win under 220 today. Most likely you're going to need more than 220.
Yeah, 230, 240 to try to make sure you win your game. That's updated already, right? We have one frame to go somewhere. No, they're starting the next game, that's true.
You can see in the top there is everyone that's close to 200 or 190, they lost that game. Nobody won those games. 16-40. Yeah, and I said Ilhamar and Walsh moved up to 3rd and 4th. Like expected.
So now we had all Scandinavia on the top. We have Finland number 1, Denmark number 2, Sweden number 3.
And then far away from here, Australia. number 4.
Australia is 4th, Estonia is 5th, Norway dropped down to 6th place.
Right
Oh.
now, it's looking pretty good for the countries that's in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah.
Which is those countries, including Australia, for some reason.
Well, they've been invited.
Yeah. See if somebody has it.
There's been a change on the wall. Robin was 3rd, Australia was 4th. Now all of a sudden I see Australia is 3rd and Robin is 4th. Probably some issue with the bonus.
So, two more games today, then.
Yeah, 2 games to go. A lot of things can happen.
Yeah.
A lot is going on. And I think it's fun for a change to see people bowling outside all day long and not just jumping the gutter and flying balls down there 50 feet down the ground. And I don't like that. Maybe I'm too much on the old school, but I mean, for me, when the heads were dry, I would increase the speed, spin it a lot more, weaken up my wrist so I would take away some reps, and the ball would do everything for me. If I have to think about sending the ball 40 feet down the lane, I mean, my wrist hurts just to think about it. Just imagining on doing that, everything hurts.
I think the one part which is a little bit different now too is that as long as they can keep their line and rely on it, they're gonna keep averaging 240. But when they lose it, it can quickly go to 170,
Yeah,
180.
yeah, I agree.
It's not gonna be like they're gonna have a little bit less carry and shoot 215. It's either gonna be high or it's gonna go pretty bad. So if some of these key players now keep bowling 240 a few more times to win, it's going to be quite a few people that's going to need a really good day tomorrow.
I was going to say, they're going to need to go to the church and lit some candles.
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw a very interesting pin action on lane 17 for Nicholas, Denmark. It was a little bit light on the pocket, but the pins that wanted to stay there, it was actually the 5, 7, 10. It was the messenger that took away both the 5 and the 10. So the reason why I mentioned that, if you guys are watching on lane 17 and 18, I'm not sure if he missed a little bit inside and increased a little bit the speed, or missed a little bit of the gripping, and therefore the ball, since it was a little bit deeper, it deflected a little bit when it got to the pocket. Or it may be that lane 17 has already some of the traffic of those urethane balls pushing the oil down, and it's going to need to move further outside. So I'm going to pay attention to see what goes on Nicola's ball for the next couple of shots. It's kind of, when you don't bowl that much anymore and you just coach, you enjoy watching and seeing what goes on the lanes. It's like some people when I look at the Formula One and they tell me, but that is boring, they just turning around one after the other. Yeah, but I also spend a lot of time looking at who's going into the beat, what tires are they wearing, how did that function, if they go sooner, they go later. Sometimes I ask myself, how do they have so many engineers and so many computers there and they don't see what I'm seeing sitting down on the sofa? What do you think, Victor? You see a lot of Formula One as well. Do you agree with me? Sometimes they make very weird decisions, right? You go like, how can you have so many people with so much money and such expensive computers and still make it wrong one more time? Ferrari is a big example on that. McLaren is doing some crazy stuff from time to time as well. Yeah, but back to bowling. Yes, excuse me for going. It's too many hours in front of the screen.
And I think I saw on Facebook that we have seen people leave the 5, 7, 10 before in this championship.
Yeah, I've seen one already.
Yeah, it's Taylor did it, I think, from Ireland.
Yes, and actually he did it on a moment when he needed to strike a lot. And after that 5, 7, 10, he made like 5 or 6 in a row.
Just made it.
So it was like nice to see. Also, we saw twice the 5, 10 for Matthias with all his speed and all his power, and he lifted 510 twice.
And obviously, when somebody get the 5-7-10 or something like that, you really want him to do well. So it's okay to joke about it directly after. It's like it makes it easier to make fun of him a bit if you know that he still made the cut.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's one of the things that's happening today. I mean, back in the day when the balls were not so powerful, not so strong, and you would live like, let's say, the 810, obviously you were missing some reps on the ball. You were not gripping it or hooking it enough. And nowadays, when you see these kind of things, most of the times it's because the ball has died before it reached the bucket. So it could be that you have so many rep rates that the ball has already wasted them all, and it reaches the part, the back part of the lane kind of slowing down. Okay, you saw Nicholas, he just had a Brooklyn on lane 17. So that makes me think that the first shot he had when he showed that 5-7-10 that he did not stay there, probably the lane was a little bit tighter on the back. And on this next shot, he didn't trust it that much. That's very humane. I mean, when you actually probably should go the opposite. If I didn't get enough friction, I'm gonna have to move even further outside. But you need to be convinced on what you're gonna do, and you need to commit to that change. Otherwise, the brain is gonna just pull it in to make sure it hits the head pin no matter what.
And we're in a part now. It's quite interesting. We can see Robin against Taylor now. Robin has moved left and starts slow hooking it a little bit more. He's fairly experienced bowler, even if he's a youth bowler. So it's interesting to see how he wants to solve this. And at the same time, what streams can't really show you now is that Lucas is doing what we talked about in the beginning. He's just starting sending it with even more speed. And if you have the chance to go and see it live at one point, you're going to be so much more impressed than looking at the stream.
Definitely.
Because it doesn't really show that kind of speed, but you can see it in his stance, because he's going to have a problem staying in balance now, because he's throwing it faster than he could
Control in the balance, yeah.
So first we look at lane 5 now for Robin. He's going to be moving to the left.
Yeah, he went deeper, definitely.
And he's good at that. And if we look at Lucas now, he's just going to stay there.
Yeah, he's on 4 board more or less.
Yeah, and he always have to put the right foot in because it's just too much.
Too much power.
Yeah, and speed.
He needs the extra step before falling down.
Yeah, and back in the days they would beat us if we did that. But now it's like he's using more.
Post the shot.
And clearly you should do that, but if you need to use more speed than you can post a shot, then just use the speed if you need it. But it's very interesting now that we can see two very experienced bowlers trying to solve the same problem in very different ways.
In a very different way, definitely.
And I can see also now that without being like... now we're going to see some of the bowlers that hasn't experienced as much tournament competition run into problems because they don't know really what to do. They might move to the left, but they can't slow down.
Also, I think we are reaching that moment that also is going to show which coaches are also more, let's say, effective on this particular kind of situations, and some that are not that used to it.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
From a coach point of view or perspective, I would like to tell all those coaches out there that it's more than fine to correct the technique, and obviously you need to correct the technique, but do that while they are practicing.
Yeah.
Because I see the mistake in a few coaches, even I've seen it this week. They try to correct the technique in the middle of the competition.
You have what you have when you get
No, you have what you have. You have to trust your muscle memory. You don't want to mess with your muscle memory when you're competing. It's all about repetition. Just focus on whatever is happening on the lanes. Accept the shape you have today. Not always is 100%. You're not always going to be as competitive or as repetitive as you wish. But you have what you have, and the tools you have, you're not going to change them in 3 frames. You're not going to change them during the warm-up or in one particular game. So you have what you have, and your coaches should help you to read the lane, to understand what's going on with the transition and the pin action. But they should never change your technique during the event.
No,
At
I
least
agree.
that's my opinion.
No, I agree. But I mean, it's when you're starting to deal with that, you would be in too much problem to save yourself anyway. But it's gonna be. Oh shit! He's
Yeah,
throwing
he
it
missed.
fast.
Yeah,
He
he
missed
missed.
out.
He missed. Yeah,
I think he was way into the friction, but it's fun. Yeah, he's very emotional too, so it's kind
yeah.
of fun. It's fun to watch him.
Especially for being Scandinavian or being Finnish,
Finnish for
you
sure.
use that they are so
Yeah.
calm and so cool and
Robin is fairly calm, but no, I'm for sure this is going to be the time where the more experienced bowlers can be
shine.
getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be adding some pins on the not experienced ones.
Mm.
Uh,
I mean, that's one of the beautiful things I see. I
you're going to see a
remember
lot of two pins on
it
people.
was probably three years ago, 3.5 years ago, when I moved up to Sweden to do some coaching up there. We had not a discussion or not a disagreement, I would say, but I made a comment at the point that it felt like Sweden had slipped away a little bit to what I was used to 20 years ago. But even when I said that 3 or 4 years ago, now when I look at it now, it's like, no, I was wrong. I
Yeah,
was wrong because you have so many new bowlers, so much talent. So probably what actually was happening, time is always a friend because it helps you have a better perspective of what goes on. And I believe what I saw happening 3 or 4 years ago is that you guys were in the middle of the transition. It was all the single-handed bowlers from not our generation, but just a few years after,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're gaining so many new bowlers, all these two-handeds like Robin, like Carl,
yeah.
like the other Robin. I don't remember
Yeah,
the William. I
yeah,
mean, you got so many young bowlers that they are so talented
yeah,
and they can do so many things with their balls and their equipment.
yeah.
It looks like you're gonna have the next 10, 15 years. It's gonna be very tough to beat Sweden at bowling, and the same thing for the girls.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy how it looks. We're trying hard to if you take the girls from aside, the urethane has been bad for women's bowling. It made it very difficult for the women to play the European tour because it's expensive to go, and they can hardly do anything when the guys started bowling the
Yeah,
urethane.
of course.
So we've been creating a small women tour in Sweden. It's just 4 stop small tournaments, and also it doesn't become so useful for the federation that the girls would try to learn how to bowl urethane with the men when we're not going to do that in the
In the
championship.
championships,
So we
no, of
want to
course.
create bowling tournaments where we can compete in the way that we need to do in the championships. Robin coming off bowling 260 here. Uh, but
And,
for sure, there's plenty of young guys that throws it really well, and we try to. At the same time, we're happy that they can do so well with purple hammers on tier lanes. We also try to give them the education of bowling trickier lanes, because we don't know what the future is going to give us.
I think that's one of the true aspects that really separate countries. Like if I compare Spain and Sweden, not only the amount of bowlers you have compared to us, but the education in the bowling centers. Down there in Spain, I would say we have maybe 20, 25 bowling alleys in the country. Maybe it's a few more, but all of them, they are open bowling. So they are up to disco bowling and birthday parties and stuff like that. And even to ask for a couple of lanes where you can put some oil on so at least you have fresh feeling on the heads. Even that is hard
Yeah,
to accomplish at some point. So whenever they do some competition, whatever the competition is, they just want the bowlers to have fun.
yeah,
And since they want the bowlers to have fun, they're always bowling on those gigantic ratios of 7, 9, sometimes even more. And when I look at the scores, because as I said, I don't bowl that much anymore. I look at the scores down there in Spain and I see, ooh, the top 10 bowlers have bowled 250 average. And I'm talking scratch. And I'm like, maybe they have learned something. Maybe they have gone better. But then we go to the European Championships or we go to the World Championships and I look at those same bowlers and they have big issues to make the par. So I keep telling them and I kept trying to tell them like an educated guess. Why don't you take the top 15 or top 10 or top 20 bowlers that you know that they really have a fair chance to be in the national team? And since we're not bowling that many events anyway, and no one of them is living on bowling, they have their own jobs and stuff. It doesn't really matter if they bowl one open for 500 euros or if they bowl one event without any prize to win. But take those 15 bowlers and make them compete once a month and make them compete in tougher patterns. Make them bowl flat. They're gonna bowl like crap. They're not gonna have fun. I know it's gonna be very boring for them the first 6 to 9 months. But then, if you bowl on a flat day after day after day after day, when you go to Aalborg like it was last week, it's not gonna feel that difficult as it was this time. And only by doing that, the level would go up instantly. But
Yeah.
it's very hard. You know, there's this saying, I don't know if in English you use it, but it says, no one is a prophet in their own land. So it doesn't matter how many times I try to explain or say, guys, try this, try that. It goes through one ear, it goes away on the other one. And it's sad for me because I've been involved in high quality bowling for over 30 years now. And I feel if they had listened since I was a kid, after 30 years of doing the things the way they should be done, I'm not saying they would be a super team, but they would be more than decent. And they will definitely be a lot better than they are now. And I feel sorry for the younger generations because they love the game, they really want to improve, they really want to bowl better, but nobody's helping them. On the contrary, they're making it tougher for them. Easier lanes, always the same pattern, always between second and third arrow and putting the break pun on 5. And you can miss 5 to the right, you can miss 5 to the left, you can still gonna hit the pocket. That's never gonna help them.
It's a very hard thing to reverse that because when you start putting easier patterns, people are gonna, you know, not being able. They don't have to practice so much and
No,
still
that's
get the
what I mean, and
scores.
it's also at the end, in the long way, it's also bad for the business, because the bowling alleys are full with open bowling at certain amount of hours, but there are other hours where they are empty. So if you are a new bowler and I don't give you 50 pins of handicap and I don't put you on lanes where you're going to bowl 200 with today's balls, even if it's the first time you bowl in your life, on the contrary, I put you like, if you go golfing, you think you can beat Jesper Parneby or any other Swedish golfer, professional, first time you golf?
No, of course
It's
not.
never going to happen. In bowling, that's what happened in Spain. You bowl for the first time and they give you 50 pins of handicap, they put you in such an easy pattern, you can beat me that I've been bowling for all my life. Because I'm going to have 0, I'm going to make 220 or 225, and you're going to have 210 plus 40, 250. Game over. So you're never going to practice. You go there and like, oh, I'm already winning on this
Yeah,
sport. Why
I'm
should I
already a
why should
star.
I practice? Why should I train? Why should I spend money on the bowling alley trying to learn something I can already win?
We had a tight match where I'm guessing this is just an educated guess, but I think also New Zealand and Australia wants to beat each other.
Oh
Usually
yes.
that's the
Oh
case when
yes.
you're neighbors.
Yeah. That was another derby, yeah.
hmm So New Zealand came out on top there, and he really needed that because he's under the cut.
Under the cut, and 247 plus 30 is gonna make him make
Yeah.
him jump a little bit higher, get closer to the cut at least.
I think that maybe Robin is advancing to close to get around Carter now. He shot
267.
and win, and Carter bowled 2-0 and lost. So I think Robin might be moving to second now. Lucas did
Estonia shot 181 and lost as well, so Norway is going to jump up after Matthias shot 247 and won his game.
Malaysia had a little bit reaction of that high game and shot 190. So Lucas is gonna keep the lead, but Robin is moving to second.
And it looks like Denmark is going to fall down to third. Australia probably fourth. Estonia may go down to sixth. I think Norway is going to jump up a little bit. So it could be the Scandinavian derby all over again, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, perfect, no worries.
Det är inga frågor i chatten eller?
Just remember, guys, if you want to ask something, just go ahead. Don't be shy. I know we talk a lot and we never seem to shut down. But feel free to ask whatever you want, comment whatever you want. You can criticize as well. You can tell us we have no clue of what we're saying. We respect each and every opinion. And I mean, the more opinions we have and the more we talk about, the more brainstorming, the more everyone's going to learn. It's always obviously different points of views on the stuff, and we're happy to listen and to read any of your comments as well.
So Robin came up missing the head pin, but managed to make a spare. 110. Starting to leave a few pins in the first frame for everyone. But we can see that Estonia has dropped out of the cut with 1658.
And we have another split to begin for Denmark.
There's a lot of
slipping down a little bit now.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, he's a one-handed bowler. He's not going to be as high as in rep rate as some of the two-handers. And since there's a lot of urethane going on down the lane, it may explain why he's a little bit more in trouble than he was a few games ago.
But it's become these patterns, like we play something called the European, the ECC, the European Championships Cup, where we also bowl a mixed event. So you bowl the first 8 games separated, men and women, then the men and women bowl together, and then again separated. So by having that format, you have to put the same pattern for the men and women. So you can clearly see that it's starting to create quite a lot of problems for the men and women to bowl same
together,
patterns. Together for sure. So a good way to win that mixed event is if the girl is left-handed, so they don't have to deal with all the transition that's going to happen. But we started to put different patterns on the men and women on the youth side. We reduced the volume a bit for the girls, so they can also create some more shape.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard now in the world of bowling to know what to do and what is right and what is not right.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody has an opinion, and everybody's going to complain, and everybody's going to say you should have done this different, and it's very tough. I mean, you either have a lot of personality and you really don't give a crap of whatever the others are saying, you just stick to your opinion because you really think you're right, or you can become super humble and listen to everybody and try to get in consensus and do something that's going to benefit as many as possible. But at the end, it really doesn't matter what you decide. I mean, someone's going to criticize no matter what, and someone's going to be angry no matter what, and they're always going to find a way to explain why you were wrong.
Usually they do it also after the competition.
Yeah.
When it's fairly easy to know what you should have done.
But that reminds me of the bar Monday morning coffee where everybody is talking about La Liga in Spain and criticizing their teams and their coaches. Oh, he should have played this one and that other guy should have been on the bench. And everyone is a coach on Monday morning having a coffee.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah, Robin is on 3 and 4. That's one of the tough pairs
mm,
on the bowling alley.
he
Three,
actually
four, five, six.
he actually told me about it when I came here. So there's the funky pairs. For some reason, I can't get lane 4 to hook anything. And now, when you think about it, that was also the lane where he missed the head pin. So,
Mhm.
so clearly he already figured out somehow to trick it.
I've been told that those three pairs on the left side, they are usually most used for open bowling.
Mm.
And when they have the Swedish league and competition, it usually happens from lane 7 to the
Yeah.
right.
Where
So
we can have
it
more.
may explain a little bit, the lane memory.
Yeah. We saw, even though we've seen them high game, but we also seen some people struggling on 17-18, where Carter basically got his first double strike in the last frame,
True.
where he's one of the top bowlers from previous games.
Yeah, we just had the confirmation. The league usually bowls from 13 to 20, and birthday parties happen from lane 1 to lane 6. So it's not that there's French fries and pieces of cake on the floor, because they really have a very beautiful and clean bowling alley in here. But as we say, the lanes have memory, and it really doesn't matter how much you clean the lane, how many times you put the kegel machine there to strip and clean up. I mean, the synthetic lane, it's wooden lane after all. Even if it's synthetic, it's particles in it, it's alive, all those atoms, and they have memory as well. They have, even if you clean them over and over again, it's like, I don't know, you have a couple of chairs back in your house, and one is always facing the sun because the window, it's always hitting the sun on one of the chairs, the other one doesn't get any sun, and 10 years later you look at the chairs and they're not the same color, but you bought them the same day, you used them the same amount of times. It's so many factors that actually take, even if it's a small, but they take part on what goes on.
Usually, I have to say also, this is one of our most successful bowling centers when it comes to the mixture between open bowling and high level competition bowling. We have many centers where the owner is an old bowler, and you can clearly see that the main objective here is sport bowling. And then we have centers also that are only open for party bowling, and then we have a few centers where they've been able to combine these two in a very effective way. So I would imagine that if you are like, we have one of the Sweden's best teams here, both on the men and women's side, and clearly they will not go down and try to practice on a Saturday 8 o'clock in the evening, because
No,
then the
of
bowling
course.
center will be full of other people.
Full packed of open bowling, disco
But
bowling, and stuff like that.
yes, but they can rely on, when you come in Saturday morning, that the center will be clean and not anything left from that birthday cake you talked about on the approach. So
That is one of the main issues we find in Spain at the moment. I would say Barcelona is really in trouble right now. So if anyone out there listening, and you have a lot of money you want to invest and you don't know what to invest on, I would say a bowling alley in Barcelona right now would make you win a lot of money, because there's a very big lack of lanes, even for open bowling. We're missing lanes. It's at the moment it's only 3 bowling alleys. We're talking
bowling Pedralbes.
Pedralbes, Splau, and there's another one in Tarrasa, which is already like you have to drive like 20 minutes out of the city. And we're talking Barcelona, we are nearly 4 million people now. So the fact that we have, like, let me think, about 45 lanes
Yeah, it's pretty
total,
crazy. That's
it's
pretty crazy.
nothing.
No.
It's crazy.
I think we have 8 or 10 bowling centers in Stockholm.
That's what I mean. How many people is there? Like 600,000?
No, it's still 1.2.
1.2? But still, it's a lot of lanes compared to what we have in Barcelona. And people would say, yeah, but Scandinavia, it's very cold, so they like to be under the roof. Okay, let me tell you, Spain is super hot lately, so we also like to be under the roof and use some air condition. And it also has to do something with the politics, because right now in Madrid is the opposite. Since they have the government they have now in Madrid, they are so open to do whatever they want to do with malls. They are making malls, so it's like a new mall every couple of weekends, and they put a lot of bowling alleys on those. But Barcelona at the moment, So we're looking for crowdfunding, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to run a bowling alley, you have the manager here. I'm ready to do anything in there. I can open a pro shop. I can do a lot of coaching. I know there's hundreds of bowlers that want to practice, plus the open bowling, plus the DJ staff. You see, I'm selling myself already.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. I think it's gonna be pouring in offers.
But I'm doing it for the bowlers in Barcelona, not for me because I'm not bowling anymore. My back doesn't allow me. I should use a 10-pound ball if I wanted to bowl now. Okay, back to business. Let's
Who's
see.
making a move? Romania is making a move, trying to move in to get a little bit closer to the cut. So he is right now trailing the cut with 100 pins, but shooting to 99 with bonus would certainly help.
We have a very intense match on 7-8 now. Matthias on the way for a 269 and Andre is on the way for a 279 if they both strike out, so that's pretty high games for both of them.
Yeah, and it's dangerous for the people under the cut because one of the bowlers is the cut. So if you're on the cut now and then you win with a really high game, you're gonna move the cut quite a lot.
Yes, you're gonna jump high.
Yep.
And the one who's just below the cut is actually facing Lucas, so it's gonna be a tough game for him, Estonia. And,
Malta is having some problems. It looks like Robin is not having the best game, but it certainly looks like he's going to win it, and it can still turn out to be a fairly good game.
It still can manage to get up at 220. At the moment, 220 and the bonus.
Yeah.
It's very good news for him. He's 30 pins ahead against Malaysia.
See, Lucas, 7 pins. So.
Ooh, nice messenger for Matthias. On the way for a 269 and forcing Andre to have to double to still be alive.
And a solid strike for Robin, which only means that he doesn't even have to make a mark in the last frame.
And he got the strike as well. Oh, it's a very tight game. Very, very tight game.
Jacob, he's bowled most of the championships, including the previous ECC, and he is very dangerous making high scores. He can make some huge scores.
I must say also, he's a very funny kid.
Yeah, he's a very funny kid.
Very funny kid.
But I have to say, watching bowling like this now, even though I don't do much else than just watching bowling, it's fairly hard to just watch these guys and try to understand exactly how talented or established they are. They all look pretty good when they can use purples this way or urethane.
Yeah, there you go, 279.
Tough loss for
Matthias,
but
yeah.
I think that he's gonna leave the lanes being fairly happy about that game anyway.
But Matthias is lost with 244.
Yeah.
He's lost with 248. He's lost with 227, and now he's gonna lose with 269.
Yeah. I think it's better for him to just pretend in his head that he shot 239 and won.
And won, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So 240 for Robin, so he's gonna remain there. Did we see Lucas making a big split, but still remaining ahead?
Just gonna tighten up things a little bit. Robin's gonna get closer to Finland. Nicholas had a couple of open frames, but now he's working on a 3-bagger, and on his way to he can fix that to 230 something.
234.
That would be a good game, so he would remain up there as well.
He can also win still, so that one is quite huge. And
he actually wants to win because he's facing Blake, which is standing right below him on the counter.
And 268 for Urethane. So right now, I think that where do we have Malta?
Malta was having some issues.
So you can get to 210, but it could also be 180. And so 180 and losing, it's gonna be
Expensive.
It's gonna be expensive.
Yeah, nice hand for Robin with 247.
Yeah.
Good job.
Let's see.
Okay, let's see what happens in New Zealand. He got the strike, so that's gonna kill Malta in this game.
Yes, also Carter, if he doubles, he puts some pressure on Walsh to get one more.
You can hear some noise out of the room, so I guess some of the bowlers wasn't happy at the very end. Some balls are flying.
Could be.
I would bet on
Tyler was having a hard last game.
Yes. But we said late 17, 18 also a little bit tricky, so it can happen. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 strikes in one lane, not a single strike on the other one.
Yeah.
It got 7, 6, 9, 6, and 8 miss. 3 open frames, no strikes on the other lane. So probably that's the reason why I wasn't so pleased about it.
Yeah.
Nice finish for Nicholas. He moved to a reactive for sure. That ball moved a lot different than it was doing with the purple hammer. So it was the right call for him.
The Kuwaiti bowler, he just stoned an 8-pin to lose contact with
the chances of winning there.
Lucas. Let's keep jamming it up from the outside.
Nice double, so he's gonna go for 230. Take the 30 pins bonus.
Walsh is still gonna beat him with his 240, or if he needs an 8 spare to
and that was a late 4-9 fall, yeah.
Well, it will certainly be interesting to see tomorrow how this is gonna play out. We're gonna have a few guys that's gonna be in fairly good condition, and a few guys that's gonna need a really good day.
They're gonna need a good night's sleep, so they get enough energy for what's coming ahead tomorrow.
Today is a weird day here. We call it midsummer. This is the
longest night, or the sun, shortest night. Sorry, shortest night, the longest day.
The sun never really sets, which is a pretty weird thing. Maybe if you come from other countries, we're a little bit used to it, but it just turns a little bit less day, and then
I would say it's beautiful to see so much light, but it makes it very hard to sleep.
It does, yeah.
It makes it very hard to sleep. I mean, my eyes open up and I'm like, oh, I fell asleep. The alarm didn't go on. It might be 11 in the morning, and then you look at the watch. It's 3 a.m. and it's like, what?
But if you feel that we are a little bit jealous that we had this great thing, you can say we get a payback during winter.
Oh yes,
when
absolutely.
The sun doesn't come up for 1 month.
I mean that is for all of you out there that say that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's flat, the lights up here working in a very weird way for a flat Earth.
Normally, you go to practice in the bowling center, it's completely dark. You go in there, you practice for 4 hours, then you go out, it's dark again. I just missed it. God damn it.
I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling up there in Mora.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Getting into the bowling alley, man, the sun is not up yet. I came so early. No, it's not that early. It's just the sun didn't come up.
Yeah.
Did a couple of things, whatever. Oh, I forgot something in the car. Now the sun should be up there. No, the sun has gone already.
Yeah. You missed it. You just missed it. All right. Thank you so much for today. Or when we wait to see the final results to see what the cuts.
Yeah, we have one more frame from Ben on lane 9.
Yeah, also really strong finish from his side, where he was going for a really bad game, 60 in the 5th frame, and then punched out for 210, and also got the win. So that was
that's a nice comeback, isn't it?
That was pretty huge because he is also picking up pins against Malta, which is inside of the cut.
Okay, we'll give you a last update pretty soon. We just need one more frame so the scores can refresh, and we'll let you know exactly what the standings are and what's the top 8 and how far is the cut for those below. We're gonna have for sure on the top, it's gonna be Finland with 164 pins in 8 games. Obviously, that's including the bonus. 244.3 average for him. Robin is sitting happy on second place with 237.6. Then we have Australia, because he's won twice the bonus that Matthias did from Norway. Australia bowled 231 average, while Norway bowled 241 average. It's 10 pin difference, but Australia has gone 180 pins bonus, while Norway is only 90. And if we go down to the cut at the moment, not completed. Hold on, give us a second.
But we can.
Give us a second. There we go.
Yeah.
No,
Malta.
it slipped away again. It went on and then. Yes, Malta is now currently on 8th place with 1890. Number 7 is already 90 pins ahead. So from number 7 and on, it goes like they have a little bit of room for tomorrow. We could say they have a little bit of handicap for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then 9th, 10th, they are only 20 and 23 pins to the cut. So they are fairly close. Romania with a very good end. He started a little bit low, but he ended up pretty well. 230, 210, to 20, 240 something. It's 60 pins behind the cut. And 12, now that's going to be a little bit more of a jump. That's 130 pins. So it's going to be a very interesting day again tomorrow. It's been a pleasure to be with you all, guys. Thank you for being there. Thank you for watching. And especially thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to spend some time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's very weird when you travel to different places. Like, I would say that Singapore, Malaysia, those guys are extremely strong. But then we are here now, and in top 5, it's the 4